we're totally back, guys. For
All right. Welcome back. So
it's Tuesday. It's 9:30. It's time to party.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. I know for a fact that you don't party.
Dude, I've got this Mountain Dew.
I'm totally a party guy.
No, I already said that I was the party guy. Why don't you say that you're something else?
I'm the stunt man.
And I like to party. All right, so yeah, so now we're gonna get to the PlayStation 4.
Let's talk about there's some PS3 titles as well that we should.
Actually,
the
really
PlayStation side. How about
from what I read, they did a really good job of building it up and starting with like PS3 and like saving all the PS4 stuff for that.
Right. There was some stuff. No, you've got a list of PS3 titles here that.
And all of these were super short, like teaser trailers.
Yeah, they kind of did like a montage of game.
And The Last of Us actually comes out on Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is the
Last of Us. The first one they showed.
I'm super excited about that, and I'm gonna buy the shit out of that.
Yeah, that looks sort of like almost like a zombie game, but
it's
not.
Zombies, though.
They're fungus.
Yeah,
they're the fungus that turns them into zombies.
Okay.
And what this reminds me of is many years ago in Game Informer, they had on the cover a game called like Goodbye Earth or something like that, or I don't remember what exactly it was called, but it never got developed. And I think now that you're saying that these guys are some kind of fungus, it was about like plant life taking over the earth and.
Wait, so it was that?
It was the happening, the game.
Right.
With Marky Mark.
Right. Maybe you don't know.
Is John Leguizamo going to
like
be
a mix of The Happening and I Am Legend.
If John Leguizamo's in it, I'm down. I'm a big fan of his work. And
they were vampires
Spawn.
in I Am Legend.
Yeah, they were vampires.
That's like the last group of survivors.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers for sure. He was very spectacular. Him and Fisher Stevens was really good in that as well.
The Pest. There you go. Yeah. We're hitting all the major bases.
And I say again, Spawn.
Spawn as
he was
Violator.
Really good
No, Violator. He was Violator.
Oh, I hated that movie.
That movie's so bad. Anyways,
but the game actually looks really cool.
I've heard that it's sort of the prototypical Naughty Dog game, which is that it looks great. There's a lot of really innovative stuff, but occasionally they just drop you into a square room where you have to shoot a bunch of shit, and that's not very fun for those parts. Which is the exact problem I had with Uncharted 3. Is that like it was gorgeous. All the traversal stuff was great.
It really was gorgeous. That was a fucking amazing looking game.
Yeah, and then like they would just put you in these kill boxes and be like, shoot a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
And be like, this is not the fun part of this game.
It's lazy game.
It seems like the variety of enemies that they have in The Last of Us, though, like affords itself a certain amount of navigation, because you have enemies that can see you but not hear you, and hear you but not see you, where you have to approach them differently. Whereas the blind enemies, you're fine as long as you're sneaking around, but you make noise and they'll flock to you and swarm you.
And I've heard that those are the segments that are really cool, like the traversal segments in Uncharted, but there are segments where you just shoot dudes, and that's where it falls apart.
Well, I mean, whatever.
The
setting looks really cool. I like post-apocalyptic stuff, so I'm a fan. So
the problem that I have with it that might serve is based on what you've seen with him and the girl and stuff. It seems like it's going to be like one giant escort mission.
Escort missions are always the best.
Well, I mean, if they took
bit.
some cues from like BioShock Infinite, though, like hopefully it's not that. I don't remember reading any like really huge complaints about that in any of the reviews. So,
word. All right, so that, and then there was Rain, which I have no clue what type of game that is. And it looks like an old graphics look really dated.
Weird thing like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So we're gonna move on from that.
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls just had what looked like an opening trailer of some chick getting all like pumped up and going through
with Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, they showed it last year.
Military training, and
it's one of those things that I look at and I go, that looks like it's good, but Quantic Dream, you fooled me before.
Actually, they showed a lot more. I saw the interview after the conference. I didn't see the conference. Reviews in the early afternoon. It's a lot more action-heavy than Quantic Dream games have been in the past, because you do play through her from a young age through like military special agent.
I mean, I'd love to play through Ellen Page.
And like, easy. Her whole thing is that she has like a relationship with this entity that gives her powers but not powers.
Okay, so I didn't know anything about that. It just looked like
she's
a generic
like
military
game.
game.
Kitty Pryde.
And much like you'd expect from a Quantic Dream game, like you can play through it in a very non-linear way. You can play through her because you can basically pick any chapter at any time to play it.
Right.
So you can play it from her like as child to adult, secret agent through all of her training, or you can jump throughout her life, but through playing all of the various levels, you get the entirety of her story, which seems
okay.
really...
That's pretty alright.
I remain cautiously optimistic because David Cage has a tendency to make claims that are, I would say, are Molyneux-esque.
Peter Molyneux. Totally the guy.
Yeah.
I just, you know...
But isn't Peter Molyneux more obsessed with, like, being God?
But it's not specific in terms, not specifically, but in terms of, like, our game's going to do all this amazing shit, and then when it ships, like, it doesn't do all that amazing shit.
Well, but then again, you know, they're doing an HD re-release of Fable in fall.
Seems like a way
where they've completely redone the game, like, rebuilt the game.
So is it more or less like Zelda now?
I don't know. They're saying that it's a more current user-friendly version of the original game.
So it holds your hand more.
So
well, that's how Fable 3 is, yeah.
Your camera control is better, and, you know, the graphics are...
Yeah, so 10 years later, they're going to put out the game that they said they were going to put out 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving along, Gran Turismo.
Are we going to be able to plant a tree and watch it grow?
I hope so. I love watching.
Is there just going to be a trail of fairy dust for me to follow every fucking where I go? Because that was my favorite.
Right. Why have to figure anything out? You just walk where the fairy dust tells you to go.
Right. I don't care about Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo 6, it looks like a racing game.
Right, it's a racing game.
It's great. Batman Arkham Origins looks really kick-ass, even though they've gotten rid of Kevin Conroy as the voice for Batman.
They got rid of Kevin Conroy. They got rid of Mark Hamill. No, Mark Hamill's not in it.
It's not Rocksteady.
It's a totally different studio. I am also cautious. Also, Black Mask is the villain. Like,
but
really?
Actually, they're saying that Deathstroke and Deadshot are actually playing a huge part in the game, which... I mean, I watched I finally finished the entire season of Arrow, which...
I'm sorry.
But the Deathstroke stuff, having Manu Bennett playing Deathstroke is pretty kick-ass, because he was awesome as Crixus and Spartacus, and so that made me like the character a lot. Plus, they've done some cool stuff with the recent comics with Deathstroke, though, like, they put him in Team 7, which was pretty sick, but as soon as that book got good, they canceled it.
Like they do.
Right, because it's DC and they're on drugs. But to take characters that are sort of B-list characters in the mainstream outside of like the comic world and make them more prominent in the game, I think is going to be pretty cool. I didn't finish Arkham City, but like the investigating the Deadshot stuff I thought was a really cool element, like assembling bullet fragments and stuff like that.
The thing about Arkham Origins is that, again, they handed over to a different studio, and so I would say cautiously, like, that's going to be a GameFly. Like the first two were like midnight release by day of, like, and Arkham Asylum was one of my like top 5 games that year it came out. Arkham City was probably top 10 the year it came out, and this one I feel like if Rocksteady couldn't match like their initial like awesome game, I feel like another studio farming it out is really not going to match what's been done in the past. And so I mean, I think it'll probably be fun enough, but I don't think it's going to match the previous two. Although the PS3 version, part of the press conference was that there's an exclusive Adam West Batman skin for the PS3 version.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's lacking the one thing that I've said all along would make any of those Batman games infinitely cooler, which is
or Scarecrow.
Give us a co-op option and have a friend play as Robin.
I feel like they did. Isn't that the thing that's happening in this one?
I don't know.
No, because Origins takes place like
before.
It's like year 3. So it's like shortly after year 1. You play as a very young Batman, so they're going to neuter your powers and gadgets early in the game.
Oh, they're going to Metroid you?
They're going to have to.
They always Metroid you.
You're going to be like a young, scrappy, like wet behind the ears.
Scrappy Doo?
Let me at him. Which is cool. Which is like the Batman that I like more than like the superpowered Batman.
No, Scott, we only did a small thing on Dead Rising 3 because John wanted to push through the because we were spending a lot of time on the Xbox stuff, and we haven't talked about Battlefront yet.
Star Wars Battlefront, they only did a teaser. There's no real gameplay. It's using the Frostbite 3 engine, which is pretty cool.
DICE has got a lot of irons in the fire.
Right. So it could be cool to have if Star Wars Battlefront is going to function using Frostbite 3 the way that, say, like Battlefield uses Frostbite 3, I could enjoy Star Wars games.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm really skeptical. I mean, of the Star Wars games that I've played, I mean, I liked Jedi Power Battles. That was pretty sick.
Jesus Christ. Battlefronts 1 and 2 are like unassailable. They're fucking amazing.
Okay.
I've never played them.
I like the Force Unleashed games because they were dark and they had, what's his name?
Star Killer. He sounds like a Silverhawks character.
Yeah, I know, right? Voiced by, I can't remember his fucking name right now. Aiden from fucking Being Human, which is kick-ass. But, yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay.
I think we need a Shadows of the Empire remake is really what.
Right?
More Kyle Katarn is really what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I want more like Dark Forces, fucking Jedi.
Dude, we need a Kyle Katarn dash Rendar crossover.
Yeah. I want more Plo Koon. I want his lightsaber to look as much like a penis as possible.
All right. Let's move on. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Don't care.
Grand Theft Auto game.
Well, first of all, I'm kind of a Grand Theft Auto fan, but I'm not like holy shit about it. But the reason that we're not going to talk too much about it is because there's already all kinds of shit on the internet about Grand Theft Auto 5, and if you want to learn about it, you can go watch one of those. We're just telling you that it was at E3.
Okay.
Moving on.
PS4 looks just as ugly as the Xbox One, but kind of a rhombus.
Right.
Somebody mentioned online that they both look kind of like ice cream sandwiches. and my immediate response was, how long until some dude does a massive bong rip and then tries to eat one?
Now, the reason this is important is because right after the Xbox One reveal, a lot of people... First of all, everybody was like, oh, Microsoft did this, so now I'm buying the PS4 instead. One of the reasons that people were going to go buy a PS4 instead was because the Xbox One looks stupid. Well,
who gives a
guess
shit
what? So does the PS4. So I don't know what to tell you.
And the thing with the PS4 reveal though is they didn't show the box. I was like, oh wait, hang on, let me Karnak the Magnificent this shit. It's going to be black and boxy and sit under your TV, and who gives a shit? Like,
yeah.
Like,
have it just driving USB port.
Yeah, it'll have it
fucking go.
Right.
Only now it's slanted and fucking
it looks like it's
postmodern looking.
Like I have a TV with probably 10 consoles surrounding it, and none of them are things that I like drag out and go, doesn't this look super cool? Like,
no, man, that's the PS3 stuff looks pretty excellent.
The newer Xboxes do look kind of cool. All right, I'm gonna put that out there. But let's talk about, because we missed it, they're coming out with a new edition of the Xbox.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Who the fuck?
5 months from now, you're gonna have the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Why are you coming out with a new edition?
360 now?
Yes, a new edition of the 360.
You don't own one? You're fucking missing out. And then wait until the Xbox One comes out and pay $200 for it.
That'll be a price drop.
If you haven't got one by now, like
you're not. It looks like the Xbox One.
You're not jumping into this generation.
No, David, did the Xbox One say no backwards compatibility?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. No backwards compatibility. Neither.
Whoa.
Wow, we're gonna get to that.
There's pseudo backwards compatibility with PS4.
PS4 is trying to pull some wool over your ass.
So we've got some exclusives for PS4 that look pretty cool. The Order, I did see the trailer for it. It's steampunkish, and it looks like
the Order 1886.
Yeah, the Order 1886.
Yeah. Steampunkish game, looks like Supernatural fighting against.
They look like werewolves, but I don't know. It's a teaser, so.
It's steampunkish, and as much as I don't like the steampunk community, David and I have always agreed that steampunk, when done right, looks pretty cool.
It's Dishonored.
Dishonored looked fucking kick-ass. So
Dishonored, Guns of Icarus is fucking badass.
Yeah.
I mean, even does Bioshock Infinite qualify? I don't know.
I think Bioshock.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Bioshock Infinite, that world, I felt I was more drawn into the world of Bioshock than
Joe and I actually had a conversation about this, whereas I prefer Rapture, he prefers Columbia. It's preference, I guess. I'm more into the post-apocalyptic thing, whereas he likes the fact that you get to see it go to shit.
Yes.
Whereas in Rapture, it's already gone.
So, Killzone, Shadowfall, look.
Don't care.
All right. You don't care. We love shit out of Killzone games. They look fucking cool. The controls are usually on a steep learning curve because they're different than it's like they went into game development. We're like, look, there's a really standard setup for FPS controls. Fuck that. We don't want to be like everybody else. So we're going to make our controls completely different.
They're subversive, man.
And it's
it really fucks
kind of fucking clunky. But
you can't change them though. You can't just make them.
I don't think you can.
No, you can't remap them. I tried.
Who the fuck doesn't let your control?
Yeah, these days, if you can't remap controls, there's a problem.
Yeah. But it's, we love the look of Killzone games, and this, of course, looks like another one of those games that we really like. Drive Club, standard racing game. Again.
Racing game that apparently is going to be free to PlayStation Plus members.
Okay.
Yeah, like right away, right?
Yeah.
It's on the PlayStation Plus thing.
Oh, but it's a different edition. It's like Drive Club PlayStation Plus
edition.
Oh,
yeah, right. Yeah, I heard about that. And it's sort of like, I feel like people were saying it was really similar to like Need for Speed style, like more arcadey.
Right.
Yeah.
Than like Gran Turismo type.
Infamous Second Son. Still another trailer.
It's a different trailer though, and it's a longer trailer, and it makes it look cooler.
It gives you a little more insight, like a little more of a look into the character. The character is not Cole McGrath, which
they changed him so much between the first one and the second one.
They made him way more of a thug.
Yeah, he looked like a skinhead in the second one.
Yeah,
I didn't like the second one very much.
I liked the game. I just didn't like the
which is fun.
I heard the vampire thing is cool.
Yeah,
I haven't played that yet, but
the Festival of Blood is super kick-ass.
I really like the first Infamous. Like, it's one of my favorite PS3 games.
It's one of mine as well.
And the second one, I got like 3 missions in, and I was like, nah.
I am on the. I'm probably have maybe a quarter of the game to go, and I just haven't gone back to it.
That's about where I'm at as well. And Festival of Blood, actually, I found out about it when I was in Australia. It happened to come out when I was there, and at the time I didn't have a PS3, and so I bought it on Gemma's PS3 and played the whole thing while I was there. And it's so good that I actually found myself thinking, why don't they just scrap the whole formula and just continue this storyline with Cole as a fucking vampire? Because the shit that, like, the powers you get and stuff were fucking awesome.
You flew to a different hemisphere to hang out with your girlfriend, and you played through a single-player game?
Fuck yeah.
That's the cool thing about having a gaming girlfriend, bro.
Yeah, she was making dinner and stuff, and she's like, why don't you just hang out and play your game? Like, word. Also bought me a copy of Metal Gear 4 to play while I was there.
It's a short. Festival of Blood is sort of like Blood Dragon, right? Like
it's an arcade game essentially. Yeah, it's
not standalone, right?
It is a standalone.
No, it is standalone.
Well, then why haven't I fucking played it yet?
I don't know.
I've told you have Infamous 2. So
I have Infamous 2. Yeah, but I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't. Moving on.
Knack. Cartoony.
Don't know what the fuck Knack is about because the trailer didn't even. It just had a bunch of cartoon things coming at you, and that was it. Now, with the Dark Sorcerer, on second thought, I don't think that's a game. I think that was just something that they were using to showcase the PS4's like video capability or something. Because I couldn't find it on a list of games released in E3.
The Dark Sorcerer joke was kind of fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. We'll just move on. Transistor, from the creators of Bastion, looks fucking sick.
Cool.
Dude, the line at PAX East to play that fucker was like 3.5 hours. Yeah. I declined. Politely.
You're going to buy it anyway.
Right, because I'm going to buy it anyway.
And I'm going to buy the shit out of it only because Bastion was so fucking good.
Right. And it looks, this is an example of what it looks to be that Sony is doing a really, really good job of retaining a lot of indie developers to make arcade-style games for the PS4 as exclusives, like Transistor. They have
Transistor's coming to PC as well, right? It's Steam.
Probably
too.
Yeah, this is in the non-exclusive. Oh wait, no, this is the exclusive list. I don't fucking know.
But yeah, that looks really kick-ass. Can't say enough good things about it because again, we all think that Bastion was amazing. I can only hope that there's a great voiceover narrator in Transistor as well. Because that's
what made Bastion so cool.
That's one of my favorite things about Bastion.
Right.
Diablo 3.
The most overhyped game of 2012 is now the most overhyped game of 2013.
And
prepare for disappointment.
And what we do know about Diablo 3 is that they have officially stood up, dropped their pants, and thrown their arms up to all of the PC gamers of the world and said, hey, look, assholes, now you can play the game offline.
Right. But in regards to the Sony conference, the only difference is they're giving you some exclusive items from past PlayStation franchises, like Uncharted and things like that. So it'll be like a gun that's
such a Sony thing to do.
Yeah.
It was really dumb.
Here, you can have Cole's amp rod. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Wait, that depends. What does it do? I might give a shit.
It's about as useless to me as like when I got all the when I bought the Hero Edition of Infamous 2 and they gave me all the codes, and they're like, here's Sly Cooper's cane. And it does exactly the same thing as your amp rod does. It just looks like Sly Cooper's cane.
Yeah, you get like.
I had the katana, dude. The katana was the one to use. If you were going to use a bullshit skin on the amp, it was throw the fucking katana. This is like an old school Vampire the Masquerade character.
But why wouldn't you just hang on to the giant fork? Because then you'd look like that dude from Silverhawks.
You can use
Silverhawks. It's like the theme of the show tonight.
the tuning fork.
Yeah, the tuning fork guy. I'm going to try to reference Silverhawks as many times as possible during this podcast.
Well, I did use the solid gold amp.
Well, there
because
you go.
I wanted to bling it up.
But the thing with Diablo, like, and the real money auction house actually kind of broke the PC version. So actually, if that's out of the PlayStation 3 version, or PlayStation 4, either of the PlayStation versions, it's coming to both.
Yeah.
If the real money auction house is out, that might make it better. Actually.
Yeah, I kind of want to play it again, but every time I think that I want to play it again, I think about how I got the original for free. So why would I buy the console version? I could just go play the PC version.
All right, now let's talk about the one that we're both, David, apparently you and I are the only ones that are pissed about this. I mentioned it to Gemma, and she's like, well, games got to evolve. They can't stay the fucking same forever.
Yeah, they can evolve and stay in the same genre, though.
Final Fantasy Versus 13.
It's now Final Fantasy 15.
The vaporware that was Versus 13 has now become Final Fantasy 15, which is really fantastic because it's not even an RPG. It is an action game.
That's fine. Final Fantasy hasn't been good since, 8 anyways.
12 was like the best Final Fantasy game in the current oh man.
Try it.
Outside of the SNES era, 12 I think.
Yeah, I love 12. But to make it essentially a Devil May Cry or some shit, it's running around with a sword, and it's not a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah,
I think Fantasy is supposed to be.
It takes away everything that I love about Final Fantasy.
Dragon Quest is the iconic genre. Be real. Be real. But I just don't. Final Fantasy it's kind of a clusterfuck. I just don't really care anymore.
What they need is some old school guys like us to take over the franchise and fix it.
They should hire you right now.
Or just make another fucking Chrono game.
Yeah, they could make another. They could do that. But
Chrono Clock.
14, I've heard. I guess 14 is somehow getting revamped or retooled or
well, okay. First of all, 14 has been out for 2 years now.
Yeah,
I think it was originally going to be also on PS3, but the game was doing so horribly when it first came out that they didn't even make people pay the subscription fee for a year.
Yeah, they had to give it away because they released a broken game.
And I usually stick with a game if it sucks to see how it's going to pan out, and even I quit playing it after a month. So I think they scrapped the PS3 thing, and they've completely revamped the game. It's not even the same game anymore, and apparently it's actually really good now. So now they're going to pop it out on PS3 and PS4 exclusively with the PC. So Xbox is not going to get it. Whereas
plus platform play. Do we know anything about that?
Yeah, it is.
Because Final Fantasy
I played Final Fantasy 11 a lot, and it's kind of modeled that way. Whereas you could play Final Fantasy 11 on the PC first for about a year, and then it came out for a couple months, and then the PS2 jumped in, and that was cross-platform. You could play with the PC players, and then a year later, when the Xbox, or not a year later, but several years later, they came out on Xbox 360, again cross-platform with everything else. So it's probably going to be like that.
Okay. Which
that's fine. Good. I mean, I appreciate
cross-platform. I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like not enough games have cross-platform.
Yeah, what Shadowrun?
It's MMOs. You have to.
Right.
Well, you don't have to.
You should.
You should.
If I'm paying a subscription, I should be able to play it on different systems and not have to pay
Right.
3 separate subscription fees.
Right, but I'm talking
No. Yeah, that's
people
how
working on the other thing.
No,
that's
I
how
understand.
Final Fantasy 11 worked. You only had to pay one subscription for your account, and
Yeah,
you can
no,
play your account.
that's why it was so good. I was like, well, it's an MMO, so I don't really care. But
Right. Okay, so David and I are not particularly super jazzed about this.
Are you super not jazzed about it?
But we know that it's a popular one, and maybe you're more of a fan, but Kingdom Hearts 3.
I tried to get in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, here's the difference nowadays, though, and they talked about this on Digital Psychosis last night. Disney has bought up so many different things this year.
They may be incorporating Marvel characters and Star Wars,
all kinds of shit.
I just read an interview on Penny Arcade Report about the Disney Infinity thing, which is basically like their Skylanders thing. And the dude who's producing it was like, yeah, I'd really love to have like Darth Vader versus Wolverine fights in Disney Infinity, but like that sounds a lot easier than it actually is, like to do with that. So I wouldn't hold your breath for like Sora to end up in X-Men world in Kingdom Hearts 3.
I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan to begin with, so
yeah, I don't. I feel like the games are really long and kind of like Zelda games. Like it plays very similarly to Zelda, but you've got like a couple of like Mickey and Donald bots or whatever, or Donald and Goofy follow you around. But it basically plays like Zelda, but it's really long.
I
like
it was an RPG, like turn.
I only played the first one.
Get into a fight.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I only played the first one, so maybe the later ones are like that, but no, the first one is like, it's Zelda.
Action RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second one is very much.
Okay. So that's what we've got for those. Then we've got indie games that don't starve.
There were a bunch of them, and I only wrote down
a whole shitload of them.
yeah, there were at least 8 of them that they showed.
New Oddworld, yes. Yeah. Indie games, yes.
Like Oddworld is a rebuild of the original game.
Yeah, it's a remake of Babe's Odyssey, I believe.
Which is the only one I've played, by the way.
It's the best one, so you'll be okay.
Because they changed the game mechanics for every game. It was a completely different type of game, wasn't it?
Right. Well, except for Abe's Exodus was basically like a direct sequel, but then like Munch's Odyssey and Stranger's Wrath were like totally different.
Yeah.
Many of those too. I have them all on Steam. I got the whole series on a Steam sale a while ago for like $1. So yeah, I mean they're okay, but I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the support they're giving to indie games because like Xbox XBlig, if I may.
I thought it was XBlim.
They did a decent job, but it was so hard to find shit, and like there was shit like
most of the games were like dating simulators.
Right, and like the fart simulators and stuff like that. So it's really hard to like separate like the wheat from the chaff. And I feel like
I love a good dating sim, man.
Who doesn't? There's this one with these pigeons. You got to check it out.
Listen, the absolute best indie game I've seen on the Xbox Live was No Luca No.
I don't even want to know.
That's you're just sitting there with your bowl of cereal, and every once in a while the cat will try to get in, and you have to push him away. That's the entire game. And every time you do it, it's like, no, Luca, no.
Check out Rushing Punch on the Xbox Live indie games market. Right. That's the thing to be experienced. But like last year I think all of my top 5 games last year were indie games. Like, really? And there's all the really interesting shit I find is going on in the indie space. Not that I still play big budget new releases and full price games, but I really dig indie games. Like right now, I'm playing Monaco, which is fantastic.
Yeah, John and I were talking about getting that and doing some videos.
Oh, it's so good. You guys should definitely check it out. The heist simulator is a super underutilized genre.
Yeah.
But
like Payday.
Yes, but better than. But it's different. It's like 2D. It's top down. But yeah, like Payday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Dave Culchum was talking about that we should play that.
So the fact that they're supporting indie games in this way is really exciting to me. Like I got an email today from Mercenary Kings because I backed my Kickstarter, and they're like, "Yo, we're on PS4, crazy!" And like, that's awesome to me that Mercenary Kings and Don't Starve, and I guess there's a forthcoming announcement about Hotline Miami 2. I'm hoping that ends up on PS4 as well. Yeah, that was like I think that was my game of the year last year.
Hotline Miami is phenomenal.
Hotline Miami is shit. So it's really great.
I just gave that game to somebody today.
Yeah, and anybody who's listening to this, if you haven't played Hotline Miami, like it's on Steam sale like every week for like $5.
Apparently, it has a game-breaking bug if you have Windows 8 though. Just throwing that out there.
That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
All right,
after 6, you can't continue.
Okay, so Assassin's Creed 4, we've talked about. You say that the naval ship battles in 3 were kind of one of the best things that they've done with the next.
And I always said if I could just play a game with just that, I would buy it.
If I can't play as Henry Rollins, like no sale on Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah.
There needs to be a Keith Morris skin and a Greg Ginn skin and a Henry Rollins skin.
Yeah, but they played through the demo, and it looks like standard Assassin's Creed until he gets onto the ship, and then it looks like Assassin's Creed 3 naval battle shit.
But like, is it going to be the thing I didn't like about Assassin's Creed 3 is I spent like 3 hours playing on this dude who's not the dude on the cover of the box.
The douchebag? Yeah.
Yeah, and then like so if it's going to be a thing, we're going to be like, check out these sweet naval battles, and then you have to play 4 hours of the game to get to the sweet naval battles. Like, I don't know that I want.
Because they played the demo, and I think the demo is the beginning of the game.
Okay.
And he runs through like a camp
and shit like that,
like a pirate camp, kills a couple dudes in the jungle, runs across parkours across a bunch of shit on a port that's blowing up everywhere, jumps onto his ship, immediately takes the reins and goes and starts shooting other shit.
Is there wall running?
Obviously.
I believe, yeah. It
is.
It's
2013.
It is the year of the wall running, yeah.
Okay, so Watch Dogs looks really kick-ass.
I saw it at PAX, which was months ago at this point, but so it was different stuff than what they're showing now. But yeah, it really, thematically, it really interests me. Especially again in light, it's the second time I brought this up, but in light of all the the NSA stuff and Prism and all that, like seeing this game come out is really fascinating to me. And and the shit that they showed at
really
PAX,
makes you. I think it's going to be really eye-opening because people are going to start to ask questions about how much of that stuff is actually realistic.
I hope so. I hope so. But what they showed at PAX, like you didn't get to play it at PAX. They had like a frag doll played it while you sat there. But it looked, yeah, they're all, most of them are. It's a bit, anyways, it was really cool to see all the different tools that you could use. But the problem is, like, whenever I see a game like that, you know, with those kinds of tools at your disposal, like, you always wonder, like, is the gameplay actually going to facilitate those tools, or is it just going to be punching and shooting, and like you use those things like once in a blue moon?
Right.
It's like a lot of the Batman, a lot of Arkham City stuff.
A lot of Arkham City stuff. And yeah, like it's just like, am I going to use this once and then never use it again, or how much of that is actually going to be?
All right,
let's take a look at the gameplay a little bit, though. It looks like Grand Theft Auto, but cooler shit that you can do in it.
Right, but that's the difference to me of like what makes a good sandbox game versus what makes it, like Crackdown and Infamous are two of my favorite sandbox games.
So what you want is less like realistic. Being an asshole criminal and more like cool shit involved.
Yeah,
in it.
right, right. More superhero sandbox games.
Yeah.
Okay, but this one looks really, really super interesting. You carry a collapsible riot baton, which is always nice.
And also an older trailer
and a jacket, which is kind of nice.
There was an older gameplay trailer of like a shootout after he changes the street lights and there's a big jam up.
Yeah,
and there's a big shootout, and there's really cool shit like
that was at
he slides over the hood of a car while shooting a guy in the face. And that shit is pretty cool, and it's all gameplay. So,
yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic about Watch_Dogs.
Right.
Right. Well, next on the list here is one that I'm really excited about because NBA 2K14, man. Any way that I can see LeBron James being a douchebag to douchebag LeBron James. Wow. Well done, guys.
Yeah,
the
video was LeBron James talking to video game LeBron James.
Yeah, I heard the video game LeBron James version was very accurate to real life. Like it looked really good. I'm told.
The common problem of computer graphics though is the mouth didn't look.
Yeah,
accurate.
like when he did his like stereotypical yelling after he does a nice play or something. It looked like his jaw was distended, and it like.
And when as with nearly every type of graphic,
and it was a black hole in his mouth.
The mouth, like you don't get like fluid lip movement. They don't look like they're talking like a person. You get a lot
unless
of.
Unless it's LA Noire.
It's like a puppet.
Yeah. So, but it's a basketball game, and look, I think LeBron James is a douchebag, and they did a really good job of making him a douchebag in the game too. So, well done, guys. Well done.
And the game will be really good if you're into basketball.
If you're
into basketball games, yeah, it'll probably be fucking stellar.
Elder Scrolls Online, it's an MMO. David and I will probably play the shit out of it because I love Elder Scrolls.
Yep.
And it's like 200 or 400 years before Oblivion or Elder Scrolls 1. It's a distant prequel.
Yeah, I mean, well, they had the benefit of
the Elder Scrolls story has spanned like 1,000 years.
Yeah,
there's 500 years between Oblivion and Skyrim.
Right.
There's 300 between Morrowind and Oblivion. There's a lot of room there to like.
Well, yeah, but even if you go back as far as Arena, I mean, Arena being the first Elder Scrolls.
This is the game where you find out how all those guards got wounded in the knee.
Yeah.
And stopped being adventurers. Right. That's every player in the game. It's just be one of those.
But the graphics look really great on it. It looks on par with like Skyrim, I think, in terms of graphics.
I think Not quite. It's
Close.
it's got the common MMO problem where because it's an MMO and it's on such a grand scale, they have to take away some of the resources from the graphics and things
also,
like
you
that.
want to make sure that if it's on PC, which this is PC as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that even shittier computers can run it.
Right.
You know. So.
Right. I mean, if you look at WoW, when it first came out,
Wow.
When it first came out, even Final Fantasy XI looked better than it because it had like cartoony, easy on the resources, like video shit. So.
Yeah, even Diablo 3.
Yeah, Blizzard is like, we want it to. It's better for us to have it run on as many boxes as possible.
Right. That's why it's so fucking popular. Whereas when Final Fantasy XIV came out, I actually had to buy a new PC just to play it.
Or like when Crisis 3 came out, or Metro 2033 when that came out.
Yeah, Crytek don't give a fuck about your box.
And they're like, yeah, you want to play our game? It's going to cost you $600. You dig.
Yeah, Crytek's like, look, we want to make our game look awesome. If you can't play it, that's your fucking problem.
The next one on the list here is the one that I could either be painfully excited about or be horribly disappointed.
It could be a disaster, John.
It's a Mad Max, presumably MMO.
Rest of the V8 Interceptors, eh?
And the car looks
perfect. When he gets out of the car, you can totally tell. Like, you'd see the car, and like, if you're a nerd, you're like, "Oh shit, it's the last of the V8 Interceptors." Then when he gets out, it's a shoulder pad, and you're like, "Fuck yeah!" And it's from the dudes who did Just Cause 2, which is a game where you can grapple to a helicopter, shoot the pilot in the face, and fucking base jump off it.
And see, I think that's because it was only a teaser trailer. I think that's kind of what they're going for, is people to have a reaction like Joe did, where they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah," and it's a movie licensed game, dude. It might suck.
I just want the gasoline.
I want it to be really, really great.
In a perfect world, they use the movie license to establish the environment,
right,
and the premise,
such as Walking Dead from Telltale Games. Fucking amazing.
Oh man, fucking amazing. Well, this one I heard, and I heard this a long time ago, so I don't know if this is the current Mad Max game that's actually happening, but I remember hearing that Cory Barlog didn't do God of War 3 after doing God of War 2 because George Miller was like, hey dude, come do this Mad Max game with me.
And he's like, fuck yeah, I'm into it?
Yeah, and he was like, fuck yeah, I'm into it. So that was the rumor at that time. That was years ago, though, so I don't know if this is still that game, because the Mad Max Fury Road that was happening when that happened might not be the Mad Max Fury Road that's happening now.
I know that most of the problem with Fury Road was that they were having, like, they wanted to film in Broken Hill, which is where they had filmed this Road Warrior and Thunderdome.
And a monsoon made it a jungle for like a year. Yeah.
It was not at all the same landscape. It was not the desert they needed it to be.
No.
So they ended up filming in South Africa.
Well, look, I'm excited about the game because I haven't played a Mad Max game since the NES.
And that game was balls.
yeah.
So, yes, Binks, that's the story, is they were going to film in Broken Hill, and because Broken Hill is far enough north, I think that the flooding in like Brisbane and stuff affected Broken Hill as well. And the landscape was not viable for proper desert setting for a Mad Max game.
If you listen to the Action Cast, which is a podcast at onthestick.com.
Not a monsoon, an exaggeration. Yeah. Come on, we're using levity here.
Give me my shilling moment here. If you listen to the Action Cast, our buddy Bryce has mentioned several times that's not the only thing that stopped this movie from being made. They were going to shoot it in like somewhere in the Middle East in like 2001, and then
obviously that shit happened.
Made the Middle East a little tense at that time. So then it got delayed again, and then this thing happened where there was flooding in Australia, and this movie's been put off like 3 or 4 times. Well, and now it's finally being filmed.
They started talking about. I remember seeing it on a rumor board at. I think it was at like Spring Mall Cinema at the same on a rumor board at the same time as Alien 3. So I mean, this has been a rumored movie for 20 years.
Yeah. And I also noticed that they didn't in the trailer. If you haven't seen it, they don't show Max's face, and I was wondering because when he first shows up, I was like, is it going to be like a Tom Hardy
it'll probably
face
be
or it will just be like generic Australian face, or like Mel Gibson, Tom Hardy, and they don't show it. He's only in silhouette.
His hair doesn't look right for Mel, though.
No, his hair doesn't look right for Mel. So who knows? I'm super excited about that because fuck yeah, Mad Max.
Yeah.
All right. So
pretty much. It's the only thing that could be cooler, if it's an MMO, the only thing that could be cooler than a Mad Max MMO would be a Dune MMO.
Yeah. We've talked about that. John always said the only thing that would get him to play an MMO would be a Dune MMO. He has since gone back on that a couple times.
The Dune MMO would be impossible not to fuck up.
The Dune real-time strategy games, like the super old ones.
What was that, like, Dune 2000?
I think they're just called Dune and Dune 2, actually.
There was Dune 2000, I think, on Genesis.
Yeah. They people really like, and they were like weirdly based on the movie,
which is a shame.
But they're really highly praised. So
Doom 2000, I think, is the PC one that I had.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. Maybe. I never played any of them. I've just heard they're really good.
All right, David, geek out about Destiny for a minute, and then let's talk about the PS4 news, and then we'll do our top 5 and wrap up.
All right. So Destiny is something I've been following since they had the reveal on the home page of Xbox Live, and it's, you're post-apocalyptic, super in the future. The world has there was some kind of giant war that you don't get to see in the game, but it's made by Bungie and Activision. I guess it's a collaboration. I think Bungie is exclusively for Sony now.
No, Bungie left Microsoft for the express purpose of doing cross-platform development.
Okay, so it is going to be cross-platform?
Yeah, it's like they signed a big, long publishing deal with Activision.
Yeah, like ostensibly what happened was that Bungie would have remained exclusive if they could work on an outside project that wasn't Halo, which ended up being Destiny.
Right.
And there's no specifics, but I would assume that they told Microsoft, you need to pay us X amount of dollars because of the money we're not going to make making this game for PlayStation. Okay. And they said, we're not going to do that. And they said, cool, we'll leave and then make a bunch of money selling this to PlayStation.
All right,
as well as to Xbox doing cross-platform stuff.
So they played this on stage. There were 2 guys on stage. I didn't see a third person, but there is a third person that shows up in the video. It's really cool, like a post-apocalyptic looking. It starts out where the guy's walking down like what looks like it used to be a highway because there's rusted out cars everywhere, but it's all grassed over and everything. And he's by himself at first, and he says, we're going to meet up with whatever the guy's name is and continue on. So he walks down to the end, and the other guy does, it looks like it's drop in, drop out co-op, but when you drop in the co-op, you don't just appear there. A dropship flew past, and he like shot down in a capsule, and they got out of the capsule and walked over to the guy and was like, okay, let's go. So they go through. The art direction looks a lot like Halo, which, like I said last night, is good because say what you want about the Halo games, but the art direction's always been really good, especially with Halo 4. I mean, it's just really detailed and it's cool. As long as you're not in the generic like canyon settings of Halo 4, it looks pretty fucking cool. And the enemy like design, I guess, and the way they move and the AI is really reminiscent of Halo, because Halo's always had really advanced like enemy AI. They talk to each other, they flank, and every game says, oh yeah, we've got enemies that'll flank you if you're in cover, but they never really do. Like Call of Duty's been saying that forever, and they don't. They just throw more grenades.
Mass Effect said that too.
Right, but in Halo they actually, you start shooting at them, they'll get behind cover, and they won't just like step out to cover out of cover to shoot like they're like most games do. They'll bait you to come over there and do shit. But regardless, the AI of the enemy looks a lot like Halo, but the gameplay itself is super fluid like Call of Duty games. And the gunplay and the way the weapons look and feel in the guy's hand as he's firing and shit like that really look Call of Duty-ish. Shut up, John. So I'm really excited about that because I like both of those game franchises, and to see them, smashed together into a game looks really cool.
Oh, and this is one of those games where they're talking about it being a multiplayer only game, correct?
I think so, and I'll get to that in a second. There's loot drops. They kill like a sub boss or a mini boss or something, and there's a little orb, and the dude runs over to it, and it disappears, and then it pops up that he got a thing called like I forget what it is now, Thunder Soul, what?
Thundercracker,
Skyward
Thunder something. And he's like, oh, what's this? And He says the name, and the other guy's like, "Oh man, you're really gonna like the last skill on that thing," and he goes to it in his menu, and there's a whole like skill progression thing for the weapon that does different.
So there's random weapon drops, and the weapons are
right. I wasn't sure if it was random at first, but then he asked the guy, "What did you get?" And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna like this. I got a sniper rifle." So it's like a loot system, like an RPG, like where you're gonna get random shit.
It's like Borderlands.
Yeah, yes, exactly. No. That's what we were saying. Was that loot? I don't think it's gonna
be.
Like,
what do you mean? I said no. Do you know something?
It's not gonna be like as super randomized as.
It's not gonna be super randomized, and it's not gonna be like you're playing a character class that's preordained to moving in this direction.
Right.
You're going to be able to shape your character in any direction that you want through the things that you decide to do and the guns that you like. Did we all play Vagrant Story?
Of course.
Did we all play?
Okay. We're actually doing what the fuck will we do for a reboot Vagrant Story next week?
But the thing with Vagrant Story is you could pick which weapon class and enemy type you wanted to specialize in.
And you progressed individually in that thing.
You use those stupid statues to level up your affinities.
I think that the cool thing with Destiny that they're going with it is that the game is going to become a de facto squad game because everything is really co-op heavy, co-op based.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're going to end up developing
like Halo,
squad mentality because I'm going to be really good at this aspect and have really high leveled up weapons.
So I need to find dudes that are good in these areas.
So you're going to end up seeing squads, clans, groups form, and organically class based in a way unlike Battlefield or Borderlands, where you're picking a class and preordaining yourself to this path.
Right. So as they continue on, there's some bullshit stuff like it's really dark, so he pulls out this thing that flies around and flies up into some office and turns the lights on for him. That's cool and whatnot, but anyway, when they get outside, they're joined by a third person who runs up and they're like, "Oh, check out these weapons we found," blah blah blah, and then like a spaceship shows up. And the dude's like, "Oh shit, that doesn't look good." And then it pops up in the middle of the screen and says "public event." So what that tells me is either it is an always online game where it's like, you know, an MMO style where lots of people are playing this game and there may not be a campaign, or, you know, maybe
there are certain like key points where it overlaps with other players and stuff.
I think that you'll miss out on parts of the experience if you don't play it online, again, because especially on the Xbone, you're going to be online anyway. You might as well just play it as such.
Right.
But I think like Borderlands, you can play it single player. You're just not going to get as much of an enriched experience.
I'm playing through solo as Krieg. I'm like halfway through.
That's fine, but through co-op, you get more out of the experience.
So during this public event, a lot of other teammates, we'll call them, because they had the same color indicators above their heads, showed up, and I'm not sure if those were AI or other players. I would like to think that they're other players because that's cool. And they help them take down this thing, and then the thing ends. So what I'm really excited about, first of all, like I said, is the art direction, the post-apocalyptic setting, the two studios that I actually like, and the potential for like massive battles with other players. So I think that'd be pretty cool. So I'm excited, and I want to play it.
Right on. Sounds good to me, man.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna go through the quick and dirty for the PS4.
Yeah, and this is a really important section for the PS4.
Because this is kind of the coup de grace, so to speak, for the consoles. I think PS4 supports used games.
Have you seen the How to Share a Game?
Yeah, we actually talked about that before you guys showed up.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier in the video.
He was like, "Here you go, thanks."
No online DRM.
Awesome.
Which is good.
Which in the notes I said it's probably will be a deciding factor for most people.
Why are we excited about shit that's been standard for like 30 years?
Because it's funny that we're that excited, but I think we're more excited about the fact that something is not going to have it.
Yeah, right. Microsoft, because I feel like there were a lot of people who were like, Microsoft's doing this, so Sony's just going to do the same thing.
That's exactly what I thought.
And I was like, I tweeted yesterday afternoon, I was like, all Sony has to do is come out and say $3.99, you can rent games and drop the mic. Like, over.
Right.
They talked a little bit more than that.
Peace.
But, I mean,
no, they did stupid shit. Like, you can watch Netflix, so you can stream music. And
wait.
They said,
Netflix.
What they did
I can watch Netflix on it and it plays music.
Yeah,
What
they actually did was they queued up the first 20 minutes of the Xbox One press conference and just played those and used Microsoft Paint to write PS4 over all the logos and just ran that.
Okay, so the next thing is the
voice chat,
cross-game voice chat, which is basically just
which we talked about this for a long time, that it was stupid that PlayStation didn't have it.
Yeah.
So finally having that's great. Real friends list. Now, am I to, Joe, maybe you know more about this than I do, am I to understand that this means you're using a real name rather than a gamer tag?
I have no fucking idea.
That is, I think, what it is. I've heard some talk about that being one of the things people were bitching about. I think it's using...
Everybody bitched about it when Blizzard did it with their fucking Real ID. Like, people were pissed. So.
I only play with my friends anyways. So I don't give a shit.
No, but I think that there's a certain, inbred inbred.
Yeah, inbred. That's the word for it.
There's certain, accountability when, I have to be Matt Slater on the internet from when I have to be, Trollbot 6000.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right. But see, here's the thing. Just like on Facebook, if you want to be Trollbot 6000, you're going to say your first name is Trollbot and your last name is 6000, and you're still going to be Trollbot 6000.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not going to change.
Juggalo Hatchet Man 420.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's my Twitter handle, actually. You can tweet at me at Juggalo Hatchet Man 420.
Underscore? No underscore.
No underscore. I got there first.
All right. Streaming to Ustream, which, as we discussed earlier,
Twitch.
Sony got the leftovers after Microsoft sealed the deal with Twitch.
Yeah.
Looks to me like Microsoft put out sooner than Sony did. Is really the only thing I'm up with. All right. PlayStation Plus is only $5 per month.
Is that a thing where you can still get a year's worth for less than $5?
Right now, what they do is PlayStation Plus. They charge you a quarterly fee for, I think it's $15 or $17 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think you can buy it per month, but the price will even out to $5 a month.
Yeah, it's $60 a year.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it'll continue to be. But unlike right now, where PlayStation Plus is sort of a weird gesture, where you
it's just to get free shit.
Yeah.
Now
and PlayStation Home. Does anybody even do that anymore?
No, it's terrible.
Nobody does that.
Nobody
ever did that.
You'll have to have PlayStation Plus in order to play multiplayer online at all.
Because they mentioned PlayStation Home at the conference.
But players
in passing, I don't remember what they were talking about.
I'm not going to have an issue with that.
Yeah,
but
I'm used to it.
Long-standing PlayStation fans are going to have an issue with it, because one of the first things out of every PlayStation fan's mouth when you try to argue PS3 versus 360 is, well, we don't have to pay for our service. And our response has always been, hey, well, you get what you pay for. How are those fucking laggy, shitty servers doing?
I don't engage in dialogue with fanboys.
Sony fans will get used to it. They'll want to play online. They'll have to suck it up and deal with it.
Anytime that I play it, if it works, I'm fine with it, because at this point, when I play a game multiplayer on PS3, I fucking take out my laptop and open up Skype. Right. And I'm like, oh, dog.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's what John and I have always said. When Xbox 360 came out, it's like they were like, holy shit, we have this awesome thing to do.
That was a good thing to do.
Yeah, they have this thing. They're like, we want to make our games awesome for people playing online. So we're going to give them the first generation Xbox games, or Xbox consoles, came with a headset and a free month of Xbox Live. And if you wanted to play online with PlayStation, you had to go buy a third-party
piece of shit headset.
And none of them were good. None of them.
The front of the console,
right?
And had an 8-foot cable.
Or
Bluetooth. Their Bluetooth lasted 3 hours.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
It was uncomfortable, and you didn't get game audio, and it was Bluetooth, so it cut out half the time.
Yeah.
So they have miles and miles to go before their voice chat impresses me. I hope that maybe that's something that they have addressed with this console. It seems to be that they've really gone out of their way to.
It was the biggest gap.
Basically, answer all of the problems with the PS3 in terms of online gaming. So we'll see. I mean, if they fix that, they're getting my vote. But at which point, I guess I'll play Titanfall on PC with Joe.
All right, so let's move on to the PlayStation Plus members get one game per month.
Which we talked about.
They're one up by Xbox in this one, because at Xbox you get 2.
You get 2.
But it's all going to come down to what is the game. Because it could be 2 games I already own on Xbox or 2 games I don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Like,
and when it comes down to these 2, I think
Halo 3, Assassin's Creed 2 being the first 2 games they're giving away, Fable 3 being a free one right now, like, those were top-tier titles when they were released.
They were.
So, you know,
but look at it this way. I think for Joe, I think Joe is going to be more excited about the free games you get with PlayStation because, like I said,
indie games.
The 3 games that they showed were Don't Starve, that Poncho game, I forgot what it's called, and one that they didn't even.
Oh, the Spaghetti Western one, yeah. Which really kick ass.
And they were all indie games, so.
So I think that's more if it's a new indie game versus a 3-year-old AAA game, that's more interesting to me.
All right, now David, this is what the
first of all,
backwards compatibility.
Yeah, hold on. Well, that's speculation. Joe, do you know anything about Gaikai?
I know that they were a company that did some stuff with internet stuff, and then basically Sony bought them because what they did was so amazingly awesome with their infrastructure.
And Matt, you don't know anything about Gaikai? All right. So they have the Gaikai Cloud service, which is going to allow you to, PlayStation Plus members, stream every PS3 game.
So is it like...
But to me, that means you probably have to fucking buy them again.
Yeah, so
I think question.
Well, this is what they're calling backwards compatibility, I think.
Well, near as I can tell from what I discussed with a friend of mine, my old Sony rep, was that they haven't yet decided if you'll have to pay for them or if there'll be like a rotating cast of Netflix-like things,
right,
where the whole library will be available, but it won't be all available at once, and so long as your PlayStation Plus subscription is there, you'll be able to stream list X, and then they'll rotate things in and out.
There's
I'm
good things and bad things about that.
I said to David about this when we talked about it last night, and that is, I think that it's a stretch to call it backwards compatibility when you've bricked all of the physical copies of games that I own.
I agree.
It's not backwards compatibility at all.
If there was a way,
if there's a way to transfer the license and play it through streaming after I transfer my license, then I'm fine with that. What I'm really curious about, though, is like,
save data?
Well, that too, but I guess like my PS1 games, because I've got like a 10 or a dozen
PS2 games. They're not going to be in this in the cloud service.
But will they work? Because it's just an emulator. Like, it's just a PS1 emulator running on my PS3 anyway.
I assume those would migrate with your Xbox Live or with your PlayStation Network account.
Yeah.
This is my hope, because I mean you can play them on PSP, PS3. Many of them now on Vita, but I guess not all of them.
Yeah.
And so that would be weird to me if I couldn't just take my PS1 games over to it. I mean, I'm going to keep my PS3 anyway.
I kind of want to go back to something that Matt said about the list being rotated. That kind of sucks. Like, what if you're really into a game and you play it all the time, and then they just take it out of the list?
Well, that wasn't really a decision. Again, she's like, we don't know what we're going to do with that at this point, because it was a thing of how to balance both their money side with the value to the consumer.
Right.
And it seems like if they're going to make that whole library available as part of your PlayStation Plus account, then you'd have to rebuy them if you're going to stream them, albeit at, I assume, much lower prices.
And that's what we talked about last night, was that you'd probably have to buy.
Which is not backwards compatibility.
No, that's paying for it twice, which is what they did with Vita and PSP, where anything that you bought from the marketplace, or anything you owned on disc, or with PSP Go, rather.
Yeah.
When the Go came out, you're like, you want me to migrate, but I have all these PlayStation portable games that I've bought. What am I going to do?
There was like a nominal fee, right?
No, it was the same price. You could buy them again.
No, but I thought there was a way that you could.
Nope. You had to pay. You had to just buy them.
Really?
Pay for them again.
That's why the PSP Go failed.
Yeah. You bought a new device, and what we are going to do is say all the stuff you've already paid for from us, you're more than welcome to pay for again.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to pay.
Well, so here's my thing on archival content, and this is as someone who has a serious interest in the preservation of games in general, and has a serious interest in vintage gaming as a hobby. And my feelings on the keeping of old games, if you have that capability, I don't understand why you wouldn't just make them all like, this is my thing with Virtual Console, right? Like, Nintendo is doing some good things again now, like Super Metroid for 50 cents or whatever, or 30 cents or whatever it was on the Wii U.
Oh, that's news to me, and that's
it was like a limited time.
But Tank was free for a week.
Yeah, and so these kinds of games, but then like if you have access to that, like I really feel like there should be like an iTunes kind of approach where it's just like, okay, here's the full Genesis, Super Nintendo, NES, like whatever they have the rights to, Commodore 64, all the games we have the rights to. Here's all of it. This is the pricing scheme. You know, that's how that kind of archivism should be handled. And if they're going to do this on the PS3 games on PS4, I feel like they should just say, if we have the ability to stream them all, they should all be available. And there should be some way for you to transfer a license
even if you can't
from a disc.
Like, right, even if you can't play the game, you should be able to put that disc in, and the console should at least be able to recognize the disc ID to verify ownership of it.
Well, because even like
or
with,
something
with 360, where you would copy the game to the hard drive, but it still required physical authentication of the disc to play.
Yeah, even that.
So it was touching on data of like, oh, this is whatever boot protocol for Fable 3.
Metal Gear 4, or whatever you're going to be doing with the PlayStation.
With PlayStation, like, okay, this is a Metal Gear 4 disc. I don't play this, but I can read the data. It's the fucking Blu-ray. Like,
I know that this
is
disc,
this.
and you have this data downloaded on your console. Let's make them make sweet love while you play.
Right. And I think that, you know, that's my opinion, and nobody's ever done that. And even Microsoft with their game room thing, when they were like, that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to release like hundreds of games a month, and it'll be just like iTunes except for old video games. And I was like, that's awesome. And then they did like 50 games, and they're like,
It's just like when PSN said, oh, we're going to start releasing all the PS2 titles as downloadable games, and we got 20 PS2 titles.
But they did get the best PS2 title in there, which is God Hand. So
there were so many really good PS2 titles that weren't there, though.
Well, yeah, there was like the thing had like 2,000 games or whatever, and 20 came out. So.
Easily, like some of the best games in the last 20 years were PS2 titles.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But God Hand is still the best one, and that was on the Surface. And that's what I wonder. Are they going to keep doing that too? Like PS2, that's all through software emulation too. So
none of the Armored Core games were released, so fuck them.
Oh, there you go. So I don't know, but I will also say that this generation, for me, backwards compatibility is not a deal breaker.
No, not at all.
I still have my 60 gig PS3.
Joe, on last week's show, I said, like when people were bitching about the Xbox One not being backwards compatible, I said, look, if you want to play your 360 games, play them on your fucking 360.
I mean, I'd like to have the option, but like
I don't care, man.
It's convenient. I'd like to have the option, but I also like. Okay, well, let's put it this way.
Not having the option doesn't kill it for
you. Right. Would you rather have the $400 PS4 that doesn't play your old games that you already have a machine to play, or would you rather have a $500 PS4 that does?
Or more realistically, a
$400 one.
Yeah. You know, and
I think backwards compatibility is a good early adopter crutch.
Well, right, because there's not going to be very many games on your console when it first comes out. Yeah, I get that.
Those games that I want to play.
But I think they do a far better job with launch titles and stuff now. So that's not really.
When I bought my Xbox, let me tell you how many games I've played on my Xbox 360 that were Xbox. I can't call it Xbox One. Original Xbox games. I played Halo 2. That's it. The only game that I ever put in my 360 that wasn't a 360.
I played Mega Man Anniversary Collection. It's the best version.
That was on Xbox?
Yeah, it came out after the PS2 and GameCube ones came out right away. Huh. The original Xbox one came out like months later, and it had like remappable buttons on like the shitty GameCube version.
Right.
And it had all the bonus features from both of the previous versions. So like the episode of G4 Icons was on there, and like all the remix tracks and shit from the GameCube one. Yeah. All the shit was on. Or from the PS2 one, all the shit was on.
Right. As time goes by, people don't touch on the old stuff, but it's a nice, like, it's a good, I mean, I didn't have an original Xbox.
Yeah, me neither.
So when I got a 360, I was like, oh shit, like, again, like Ninja Gaiden 1, like, I could play that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I, at that point, couldn't have played otherwise.
Okay, so we're going to do a really, really quick, this is going to be really, really tough, because it's something that we forgot to shoehorn into the two consoles, because maybe it's one of the most epic things to come out of this E3 conference, and it shouldn't be.
Oh man, how did we miss it? How did we miss it? It's the most important thing.
To be one console's grouping. We're going to do this quickly.
We can't talk about this quick.
Because we have to finish our top 5.
What, John?
And I can tell you right now that this is already...
This part has
our
only
top
been going
5
for like
is in fact...
Right.
Our top 5 is in fact top 5 game announcements from E3 this year. So I can say that the one thing that we have not talked about somehow is probably our number 1 for an E3 announcement. And I think that we can all...
It's not an announcement, we knew.
Right.
It was announced before.
But seeing the gameplay footage and stuff...
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my god.
The extended trailer came out today. I was waiting for the extended trailer. The 9-minute trailer that came out today, and I haven't watched it.
We are obviously all talking about Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. And we are even going to say that I don't give a shit about Kiefer Sutherland replacing David Hayter, because you know what? Kiefer Sutherland is a bad motherfucker. And he sounds pretty cool in a couple of clips of dialogue in the trailer. And if we want to hope that at some point in the future there is a game where Big Boss and Solid Snake encounter each other once again, they cannot be voiced by the same guy.
They weren't in Metal Gear Solid 4. Spoilers.
So to have Kiefer Sutherland be Naked Snake and David Hayter be Solid Snake.
Oh, what is the name they gave him in the trailer?
Punished
Snake.
Yeah.
The game looks amazing. It has the thing that David and I have talked about for ages and ages and ages. I'm sure that Joe, you and I have talked about it at some point. They start out with a cutscene, and then it switches to gameplay.
Yeah, and you don't even know it at first.
To realize that it switched to gameplay because the graphics are identical in cutscene and gameplay. Engine. Like you see only like the slightest little stutter of the camera as.
And that's because it's released into your control, so it obviously is gonna.
Yeah, it snaps to control, and you start putting the horse down. And it's the landscape, the detailing in the landscapes, the weather effects, the open world functionality.
See this is a game that I'm excited about.
Punish Snake's little fucking ponytail. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
come on. It's a new Metal Gear.
So much awesome
I'm totally in. I just used money from my wedding to pre-order the Metal Gear Solid Legacy collection.
Yeah,
because I snoozed on the HD collection.
So
I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna get the Legacy collection. But I mean, anything Metal Gear is automatically, as long as it's not another acid game, like automatic buy for me. So. I'm in. I am planning to get a PS4 at or near launch and get Metal Gear Solid 5 on that right away. Now, did they say anything about, like, because originally it was like Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain are sort of two separate games?
On a list, they're listed
separately. On the list, they are listed as 2 separate games, but they did not talk about Ground Zeroes. They only talked about the Phantom Pain in the conference.
Okay. But I have just a massive game boner and Metal Gear Solid 4 was kind of a letdown for me, I'll be honest. Like, it's a good game.
The game mechanics were really, really great, but it was...
It's so talky. Yeah. Like, there's so much bullshit talking in that game.
I would have been happier with more gameplay.
Yes.
But the game mechanics that they incorporated were spectacular.
Absolutely.
And going back to Shadow Moses was...
Dude, we both talked about how we kind of like,
really exciting.
got choked up, man.
Yeah, they did. There were a lot of things that they really did right with Metal Gear 4, and I'm absolutely certain they're going to do just as many, if not more, things right with this game. Snake's got a robot arm that he apparently
that is never mentioned in any other game.
No, it's got to be in Peace Walker because it's the arm that Galvez has in Peace Walker, and I haven't finished Peace Walker yet, but Galvez has that right arm, or has that red robot arm. And he's one of the villains in Peace Walker. So I'm going to assume that somewhere towards the end of Peace Walker, Snake loses an arm and fucking kills Galvez and takes his arm. And, you know,
I haven't finished Peace Walker either.
That's fucking fine with me. If they want to have him be like Cable of the Metal Gear series, we're missing an eye and an arm, that's cool. That's fucking cool. Give him more pouches. Give him more pouches.
I'm in. Metal Gear, I'm in. Totally.
Oh. I mean, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't see an announcement for the already known to be in development Zone of the Enders game that Kojima's already said numerous times that they're working on. That's sort of a reboot, reimagining of Zone of the Enders. I really would have liked that. There was the trailer that came out last week for Lords of Shadow 2, which I really liked. Lords of Shadow. Like the gameplay is just sort of okay, but the story was really kick-ass as a sort of like its own entity outside of normal Castlevania continuity. The voice acting was really great. I really liked the characters.
It did have Begbie in it.
It had, come on, it's got
Captain Picard.
Carlisle and Captain Picard and Jason Isaacs voicing the devil.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, which is kick-ass. But Lords of Shadow 2, I mean, Alucard is in the trailer for Lords of Shadow 2, and he looks kick-ass. He's not wearing a shirt, which is important.
Good.
You always wear a long coat.
Hey, do I get to play as him in a 2D sort of expanded, connected...
Like if the world turns upside down or something?
Maybe turns upside down at some point. Because if I do, Soul.
Yeah, you do in Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate.
Do you? Yeah. Was that any good?
I didn't get it yet, but I'm going to. I got text for a 3DS, so I could get away with buying stuff like that for myself.
Nice. Way to exploit your children.
Yeah, well, he loves it, man. Skylanders. I have to like level up his Skylanders characters.
Look, man, if you do all the grinding for him, he's never going to learn how to grind.
No,
he's never going to learn.
He just likes to grind different characters than I do. So, like, I managed to load my legendary stealth elf without taking it out of the package. So I load that one in, and I grind on the legendary stealth elf.
Do you have a Drobot?
No, that's what we have right there.
Okay.
And then the stealth elf, the legendary stealth elf, is up on the wall.
Correct. Niter.
Nerd alert!
All right, so anyway, Metal Gear Solid 5. How do you feel about it being open world?
I'm pro, because it needed the series needs something. It needs something to spice it up a little. I mean, though, all of them to a certain extent have sort of been open. Like you can go all the way back to the first area.
Well,
most of the games.
Most of the way back. Like there's one section you can't get back to in Metal Gear 3 and stuff like that.
But generally speaking, like you can pretty well back. Even going back to Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, you can like the whole world is pretty open from the word go.
But
I think.
Joe.
Yeah.
Not Snake's Revenge.
No, not Snake's Revenge.
No, I'm saying you couldn't do any of that in Snake's Revenge.
Game. Fuck that game. Nobody gives a shit about that. Yeah, so I'm on board. I think Kojima will do it right in a way that's not cumbersome or stupid, or like the open world is just a big glorified level select.
Right.
You know,
See, what's important about this is what they said. In a lot of open world games, shit gets spawned in or rendered when you get close to it, whereas they're starting to do a lot now with persistent worlds where shit happens without you, and that's really important.
What I'm really curious about is how are the Xbone and PS4 versions going to differ from the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Voice control.
Because I really no. Because I'm
eat tree frog.
They're actually
dying on a tree frog.
In the trailer, they do also talk about a realistic passage of time, and they demonstrate a snake smoking a cigar while they show a clock.
And the sky.
Fast forwarding, and the sun shifting through the sky. And rather than, like, your day is 20 minutes long.
What a horrible night to have a curse.
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time style. It is a realistic time length for days and nights.
And that's probably just a
little bit could be a pain.
Is there a way to fast forward like a Fallout though? Because I really don't want.
Sure, that's what I was going to say. It's probably like a Bethesda game where you just hit back and say how long you want to rest.
Some games like there was a thing with Fez, which I never finished, but there were certain items in Fez that you had to be in a certain place at a certain time. So you either had to be there at that time or like disconnect your Xbox from the internet, set the internal clock to the wrong time, and then go to that section.
That's how State of Decay is. State of Decay works on your internal clock. So like you have to wait till the next day, or when you're building facilities for your base, it takes real time, like 3 days, 3 real days. And it only took me 2.5 days to.
When I watched you boarding windows, it looked like all you had to do was like pound a hammer at a window and a board appeared on it.
Well, yeah. It's an arcade title, man. Leave it alone.
So Metal Gear 5, I think it's the win for the conference.
Look, I said it last night, and I'm going to say it again. One of the parts about it that I'm most excited about is that apparently Ocelot's your bro.
Yeah. The trailer starts with you hanging out with Ocelot.
Like riding horses with him, just talking to him. And he's telling you that you got to become the man you need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the same? Is it the same voice?
No, he's a younger Ocelot, so I think it's a different dude.
Is it the voice of the dude who was him in 3?
No,
he has white hair now.
Yeah, so
but
he's like,
he doesn't look like old.
He doesn't look like the sheriff from an old western.
Right. That's what they were going for, man. Come on.
He's got to be, because he's what, like 60s in by Metal Gear 4.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So he's got to be like 40s in this one, 30s.
Yeah, he's old, but he's not like an old man. So
I think he's supposed to be comparable age to Snake. Like he's supposed to be a little younger than Snake, right?
Which Snake? Big Boss?
Naked Snake, yeah.
Yeah, I think ish. Yeah, I think so.
In 3, it looked like. I mean, obviously it's just character model, but it looked like he was a little bit younger than Snake. Yeah, but Snake's always looked kind of grizzled and tough. So.
Like Kurt Russell.
Yeah, like Kurt Russell or Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
That's the toughest rock paper scissors I've ever seen.
Right. Man.
By the way, we were talking about a rock paper scissors game. Found one in the Xbox Live Indie Games thing.
Like I said, of course, good old rock. Nothing beats rock.
All right, so let's move on to the comparisons now.
PS4 is better, except for the Twitch TV thing, in which case the Backbone is better.
But I mean, like comparisons of like the two conferences. Xbox seemed to they seem to put more into their reveals of their games. Like all their trailers were longer. There were more demos played.
They did that earlier conference where they got all the multimedia stuff out of the way, so they didn't need waste time on it at E3.
Whereas, like I said earlier, the PlayStation 4 stuff was a lot of like 1 minute or 1.5 minute teaser trailers, and then they would just move right on.
And tell you how you could watch Netflix movies or stream music from something.
From Sony Music.
Yeah.
Microsoft also had more time to fill because they had a lot of questions to not answer.
True.
On stage.
They were dodging like pros.
They weren't even dodging. They were just not. They were ignoring. They weren't even like. We're going to use flowery language.
I think that given that, I think that it's very evident that Microsoft sort of knows how fucked they are in this situation.
Well, then why would think that? You would think that.
Press on with those things.
They didn't need PlayStation 4 to announce that they were pro used games and pro no DRM to know that nobody wants Xbox to be that way.
And it's also not like
they could have changed that a long time ago, but they just are choosing not to.
They had an agreement, and all of a sudden Sony was like, "Oh, you can play used games on ours." And Microsoft's like, "What?"
And Xbox is like, "You fucking asshole!"
Like, Sony, you had one job.
One job. Agree with us on the used game thing. What the fuck?
Like they
totally threw us under the bus. What the fuck?
What's interesting is that they did the same thing at E3 in 1995, where basically they just came out because the Saturn was like they were like Saturn's available now and it's $400, and there were no games with it. Retailers got caught totally flat-footed, and Sony just came out and were like $299, and the crowd like went mental. And this was fucking almost 20 years ago. Yeah. Like they did this, and Microsoft is like, "Oh, it'll be fine." Like, no, it won't be. Like you had to know that Sony, even if they were planning a different price point and they were thinking about DRM, as soon as all this shit started going bad for Microsoft about a month and a half ago, you know they had to be like, "Okay, guys, this is what we got to do." Like,
Sony does though have the ability to back end patch their system if the DRM thing becomes really lucrative.
Which it has the potential to.
I think it will, because I think game developers are going to be like, "Look, we're going to make more money with this DRM shit."
But Trenton said today that they were not preventing third-party publishers from utilizing DRM. So if there wants to be an online pass situation, which is bullshit, or any of that stuff, like publishers are still free to do.
Well, EA made a statement that they're not doing online passes.
No, but other publishers.
But EA also made a statement they have an exclusive fucking thing with Xbox, so they don't need online passes.
Yep. Yeah, I would say EA abandoned online passes like a week.
Look like a hero for a couple months.
Like a week before Microsoft did their oh, you're going to have to pay essentially near or full MSRP to license a used version of this game.
Plus whatever the retailer charges for the use, which is dumb to me. Like, why would you...
The whole thing's dumb.
Well, yeah, but like they're saying that you have to pay a full retail price to play the game on the console on top of what you have to pay to get it used.
So just buy a new copy of the game.
Just buy a new one.
They want you to just buy a new one.
They want you to buy a new copy of the game.
But to me, like, okay, so I spend $25 a month on GameFly. If Microsoft's telling me your GameFly subscription is literally useless for our system, right, like they've lost me right there because I get so much use out of gameplay. So I'm just like, I mean, that's my reaction, and I don't think Sony's going to. I think to Sony, it's more lucrative to have a larger install base of people who are maybe using PlayStation Plus or buying indie games or buying games directly off the market as a function of being able to rent, like the higher install base, because they can rent or borrow or buy used games. They will also have more opportunity to buy more games off the market or more, new games. So
that's the gamble that Microsoft's taking, because if it works out and Microsoft and developers are making more money for the games that they're selling on the Xbone, you will probably see exclusive content, exclusive feature sets,
go to the
exclusive
Xbox.
Multiplayer, go to Xbox, because they know that they're going to make all of the money that comes with every single version of that game sold in that system.
Which is exactly why. Exactly why last week I said that the PlayStation was sure to do the same thing. Because it was
you get shit like that now, and either that same DLC comes out later on the other system, or it's garbage and nobody, it's nothing.
But you might see that change if there's a reason to make that significant investment to do that console-specific development, because you want to entice people to keep your game. Because honestly, on Xbox, if I'm paying $60 for a game that I can't fucking trade in for anything, I better be able to play it for a long fucking time.
Yeah, I want to get long run content.
I kind of wanted to bring up the like the standard FPS or just third-person action game length is like 6 to 8 hours nowadays.
And that won't fly if I can't.
They need to change that.
If the install base. Well, first of all, I'm a quality over quantity guy. I don't give a fuck if the game's 5 hours long. If it's spectacular 5 hours.
I've always been that way too, but we don't make up the majority of the.
Right. But what I'm saying, what I think is important is that if the install base is that much bigger on the PlayStation 4, the developers will have no choice. Like, they can say, like, oh, we're going to put this thing out on the Xbox, but if nobody's got a fucking Xbox, then it doesn't matter. Like, they'll go where the consumers are. So if we come out of the gate at the end of this year, and by the middle of next year, there's twice as many PS4s on the market as there are Xbox Ones.
Yeah. You're going to start seeing a lot more.
They're just going to go to the PS4 because that's where the money is regardless.
I think it's a very calculated min-max situation, and there's a gamble on both sides that's going to pay off for somebody and completely fuck anybody else.
I can almost guarantee you it's going to be Microsoft who's going to get fucked. Like, because Sony's continuing with what's worked for 35, 40 years.
I think it's going to be we're entering a very, very interesting time. It's a far more out for blood sort of a competition between these two companies than it's ever been. This is a very decisive move by Sony to really, really try to hammer some nails in a coffin. So I mean, we're going to have to I think it's going to be a really interesting few months leading up to the release of the two consoles. We're gonna be getting a lot more news and probably a lot of changes. I mean, I expect either changes from. I don't see Sony before launch saying, "Oh, we changed our minds. We're going to do this."
No, it'll be a
but it's right. They'll wait until the console's out there before if they're going to say, "Fuck it, we're going to do what Microsoft did." They're going to wait until they've already sold their first batch of consoles.
It would destroy them even worse at this point because they've come out and said we're not going to do that. If they go back on that, they'll kill more goodwill with their consumers than Microsoft is killing by just saying that out of the box.
Right. If there is going to be anyone that backpedals, it's going to be Microsoft. But I don't really think it's going to happen.
I agree.
Look at a situation like COD. Sells a fuck ton of copies every year, but runs on the same engine year in and year out.
Except for Ghost. The first one.
Except for Ghost.
Which is why it's the only one that we're excited about.
But so then, if on Xbox next year, instead of paying $60 for a copy of Call of Duty next one, I can pay $40. It's going to run on the same engine. And I already own the license for Call of Duty. Now I'm basically buying a glorified tutorial and a set of maps for $40 instead of $60, which it would cost me on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
But I can just download them. And now I'm seeing further savings on the consumer side because I already have the license for Call of Duty and I'm already running the engine.
I mean, why wouldn't Sony just do that too? Because everything will play off the hard drive on the PS4. They could answer that with the same thing.
Or are we looking at this the wrong way? And maybe is what Microsoft is doing, is that more of a subtle move toward solely digital content?
It's not a subtle move at all. It's an overt move toward digital.
I mean, we're looking at a heavy shift. Like they both wanted to not have disk drives this generation.
That would be horrible.
Right, but that's the direction they want to go.
Obviously,
but that's where the money.
But I feel like there's a concern with, like, for me, if they both went that way, they would start having to pony up some serious exclusive content, just because, like, the thing that Steam has that these things don't have,
amazing Steam
have any reason to believe, is the fucking Steam sales.
Right.
So
I've bought almost 40 games that I would never have bought in the last like 2 months because of Steam sales.
I've bought games that I've never even played that I got from Steam sales. And I'm just like, oh, this is on sale. I got the whole Painkiller series for like $5. I've never played any of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, right, exactly. And it's like there's like hundreds of games on Steam, and there's no evidence to suggest that in a more closed market like these consoles that they're going to offer, or that they are willing to offer, deals that match what you see on a Steam
They didn't even offer price breaks on digital versions of full versions of games.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like, even as it stands right now, the PC version of any game is $10 less than a disc if you download it from Steam.
Yeah.
You know, $50 is pretty much the standard for a new game.
If you want to buy a digital copy on Xbox, it's the same as buying a physical copy.
It's the same as buying a physical.
And you have no equity in it, which I guess with
Expo, you won't have
equity in anything. So,
will you be able to resell through what was it, participating
retailers?
Yeah, certain which means GameStop. Like, let's be real, that means GameStop, and maybe Best Buy or Walmart. But like, it doesn't mean like the Mega Media Exchange on 76th Street. It doesn't
right.
No, sure. But what it does mean is that, I mean, people scoff at trade-in values currently, and that's assuming that the retailer is going to sell it for $55 immediately. Now, if the retailer is selling it for $55, but $45 of that is a fucking licensing fee that there's no margin on, then what are they going to give you for it? They're going to give you $3 because their profit margin's coming off that $10 that they're physically getting.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's a huge miscalculation on the part of Microsoft. I'm kind of with John. I think they could, if someone's going to backpedal, it's going to be Microsoft. Not Sony's not going to go.
Sony's sitting at the top right now. They have no reason to backpedal at all.
Yeah, I think if Microsoft, if anyone's going to backpedal, it's going to be Microsoft. But I don't know. I think if it does happen, it'll be either before it releases. They'll be like, okay, just kidding. Or it'll be like years down the line when they're getting their asses kicked. And
or it'll be not years, but it'll be E3 next year. They'll announce it as the big, like, this is what we're doing because we just lost our asses for fucking 8 months or whatever.
So I'm interested to see how it plays out. I mean, I don't have like a dog in the race here. Like, I don't own stock in it.
That's what we were talking about. We're still neutral on it. I mean, like I've always said, I'm getting both consoles regardless. So it's not like one of them has to win me over. But I really am pulling for Xbox right now because they're the underdog, and I want them to fix some shit. I really do. I'm an Xbox fan. I have been for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for Xbox because I prefer my Xbox, but
my gamer tag or my gamer score is too much to.
I preferred my PS2 to a regular Xbox. That doesn't mean I have to automatically prefer my PS3 to my Xbox 360, or I preferred my NES to my Master System. Doesn't mean I have to prefer my Genesis to my Super Nintendo or whatever. I'm console agnostic. I mean, I've got all the fucking machines from this past generation, except for a Vita. I've got all the fucking machines from the generations before. I mean, so that doesn't. I'm definitely waiting on an Xbox One. There's no way they're getting $500 out of me if I can't use my GameFly subscription. There's no way I have enough money to buy both right away. So if it's going to be a PS4 for me. I also don't have a Wii U yet, and
I'm not getting a Wii U. I'll tell you that right now.
New Mario game. I'm sorry.
12 games for it.
Yeah, but one of them is going to be a new Super Mario Brothers. One of them is going to be a new Bayonetta.
Smash
Brothers.
Yeah,
Bayonetta 2.
Lately, when I want to play the new Super Mario Brothers, I go to 42 and I play it.
Like, well, okay, fair enough. I would like to play it in the comfort of my own home. Yeah. So I mean, I think the price is going to come down on that too, though, which is going to be a factor. Price is going to come down on the Wii U, and I think PS4 is coming in at the right spot with the right price. And for me, like I said, I'm going to be looking at a PS4 at or very shortly after launch. I got a December birthday, so usually I can rustle up, between birthday and Christmas. I can put enough pressure on
I
people
expect
to
that
land myself a console.
I'm expecting to shuffle funds around and save some money and see which one I'm going to grab in the fall, and then wait for tax return for
That's not a bad idea. And
no, you guys get tax returns. That's fucking hilarious. I owe those fuckers money every year.
I don't know what I'll
all right, so in any case, the bottom line is it looks like the PS4 is where it's at right now. And Xbox or Microsoft needs to do something super drastic.
But we're holding out for some hope for some change from Microsoft. We'll see what happens.
And I mean, I've always said, and I say this on my own show all the time. It doesn't take much. A few exclusive games experiences that I can't have anywhere else. That's what I'm saying about the Wii U thing. Like,
why do you think I bought a PS3?
Right,
because I wanted to play Metal Gear 4.
Yeah, that's exactly why I bought it.
The reason I bought it. And it's the same. I would say generally like 5 to 10. If there's 5 to 10 really solid games that I can't play anywhere else, then I will go for it at a certain price point.
300.
Yeah, it's around $300.
Well, we're at like the 3-hour mark here. This is epic.
Yeah, so we need to do our top five.
Real simple. Metal Gear.
Let's bring up what the top 5 is again.
Okay, it's top 5 games covered from E3, whether it's announcements or like further follow-ups, like Metal Gear was announced previously. But we're getting real.
And remember, like always, our top 5s.
No particular order.
They're in no particular order because when you get to the top 5, that means they're
everything
all
should be super
only
awesome.
This time, our number 1 kind of is better than the rest of them.
It's Metal Gear 5 for sure. I'm going to push for Titanfall.
Titanfall. I'm going to push for Destiny. So that's 3. I'm also going to push for Dark Souls 2.
Well, I'm going to see what these gentlemen think. We've got 3. Let's see what these guys got. Maybe they could each pick one.
You know what? I would push hard, and it sounds like you guys are kind of blasé about it. I would push hard for Mario 3D World, Super Mario 3D Super Mario World, whatever the hell the proper title is.
Right.
A new Mario game gets me every time. Like a proper, not like a new Super Mario Brothers, but like an actual new Mario game gets me every time. And seeing what I saw of it, and I haven't watched any of the videos or anything, but seeing what I saw of it, that is the thing that I will buy a console to play.
All right, so that's 4. And Matt?
Slater, what do you got?
So I'm going to split it up. Sequels, I touched on it earlier. Rayman Legends. Rayman Origins was the best 2D platformer I played last generation. Super charming, well-designed, gorgeous to look at, and super addictive and fun to play. And then Watch Dogs again. It was the best thing from last year.
Watch_Dogs.
It was the best last year. I'm always fucking stoked about new IPs. There's not enough of them, and to see something come out that I think is topical to the world we live in, as well as looks really engaging from a gameplay game mechanic standpoint. I'm totally down.
I think I really like the to focus on the point that it is topical, and I think that it's a really great.
It's a ballsy game to make.
Right. I think it's a really great concept because of the how thought provoking it could be socially, especially. In the
because it really points out that the world we live in is really convenient, but we're also vulnerable to like a single bad sell, and the whole shit goes down. Yeah. Like that, like the trailer scene with the streetlights.
Yeah.
Like,
and what's really interesting is when I was waiting in line to see it at PAX, this dude with a random internet gaming show walked over and he was like, "Oh, can I ask you about Watch Dogs?" I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "Man," and he just like talked about the graphics for like 30 seconds before like putting the mic in my face, and he's like, "Yeah, man, these graphics are awesome." I'm like, "What do you think about the graphics?" And I was like, "Man, like real talk,
I don't shit about the graphics.
Yeah, graphics. Like thematically, this game is way more interesting to me than how it looks. I don't give a shit how it looks."
Yeah.
In the honorable mention shout out, I think we can all agree that.
And also honorable mention, the potential for Mad Max to be really kick-ass is there. The potential for it to be a giant disaster is also there.
Will there be a gyrocopter pilot?
Is Bruce Spencer voice that motherfucker?
Better.
And as far as honorable mentions go, I really, again, have to throw Dark Souls 2 out there.
Why is it Dark Souls 2 and not Demon's Souls 2 or Demon's Souls 3?
Yeah, I don't know.
Souls is too cumbersome to say.
I think that Dark Souls might have been a bigger success than Demon's Souls because it was both platforms, maybe. So they're capitalizing off of that. The point is, another Souls game. I'm a fan. I mean, I played them both.
Yeah, I haven't got it.
There might be hate life, but in a really, really good way.
All right, right. So we're gonna wrap up.
Right. So
the most epically long show we've done yet, and it's only the 5th episode.
Go over that stuff down there.
I do this.
We will, along with when we post it up on YouTube, we'll get all of Joe's YouTube channel and stuff info on there.
You could just have him say it right now.
For a second? Okay.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So you can find me and all my nonsense at onthestick.com. I do that with 3 other dudes and a rotating cast of other chuckleheads. We have the onthestick.com bi-weekly video game podcast. We also have the Action Cast, which is the internet's foremost action movie podcast. Just today we posted an episode that is about... what was today's episode about? I can't even remember. It's
maybe they should go check.
Yeah,
maybe they should go.
Yeah, the audience, you should go check out what that episode is about. It's about Point Break. So there's
Point Break. Fuck yeah!
That just went up today. And you can check out What a Maneuver, which is our weekly foray into the world of professional wrestling in 1997. Matt's been on that show. He's going to come on again.
You're talking about the Nasty Boys?
We've talked about the Nasty Boys a lot. We did all of 1996.
Not the guys that worked for Mr. Sinister.
Not the guys who worked for Mr. Sinister. Now we're into 1997, so check that out. And I do have a YouTube channel as well. It's Open Holes, which I do vintage gaming shows on there that you can check out.
And Slater, you got?
I don't do it. I play on the internet.
Slater's right now. You're a professional.
I'm fun employed.
You're a student of the world.
I'm on a sabbatical from work before I go back to school, so that's why I don't do the non-mentioned soul crushing job I used to have.
Right on.
All
right. So thanks to these guys for coming in and doing this. I think that we covered a lot of really great stuff.
John, don't forget that stuff down there, though.
Which stuff down there? I can't.
Down there.
Our stuff?
Yes.
Oh.
Ahead,
okay,
man.
this stuff. I'm like, which way are you pointing on that screen? And there's a delay, so I had to wait for it to show up. All right, you can check us out on Facebook, which is facebook.com. It's all the info's on the page right there. Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. We usually have the videos for the shows up the day after. This will probably be a 2-parter because it's epically long.
Right.
We're probably going to do some game videos again over the next couple of days because why not?
We should. We have to.
You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Virtual Bromance, and David and I do a little thing called AMSEC, which is our industrial band on WT2 Records. I put the link in the chat to buy the EP on Amazon if you like. Otherwise, you can check us out on Facebook. The link is there, and then you can go hunt us down on iTunes or whatever. If you're in Milwaukee and you want to see us play, good luck. We do that about once a year at this point.
Although this July, maybe?
Yeah, we're supposed to play in July, which will be an anniversary.
Cool.
The last time you played?
10 years. It's our first show. So yeah, that's that. And so I think all of the show ducks are in a row. I think.
Yes. All that is all that's left to do is to say see you later, guys.
All right.
Bye, Internet.
Bye, Internet.
We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll have some more fun shit to talk about. Oh, we're going to talk about our possible reboot of Vagrant
Things
Story.
that we would love to see in a reboot or continuation of Vagrant
We've done Legacy of Kain, and now we're going to do Vagrant Story. And it'll probably be a running thing for us. So.
I'm going to go ahead and just throw this out there now because I won't be here next week. No weapon degradation is a thing I would like to see.
That would be nice, yeah.
Make note of that. All right. I like it.
All right. Anyway, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Later.